Vest plus group pet plus super cool face punching plus Shura field plus 10,000 fans 1 sentence summary. Versatile true 1000 gold face daily 10,000 people mysterious Shura field daily before his death. Jiang Yao had a stunning appearance, and with a smile on his lips, he could capture his soul and soul. The big shots from all sides are vying for her, crazy for her, and pushing against the big wall for her. Killed by the consciousness of the world, Jiang Yao unexpectedly regenerates into a wealthy family that is both ugly and fat, and can be trusted by everyone. A scumbag's fiancée and a fake daughter have sex without a matchmaker. Brother, blind in the eyes and blind in the heart. The second generation of playboys waiting to see jokes. Jiang Yao gave a faint smile and said, since being alive is boring, I'll just slap you in the face. Divine calculation and ancient medicine. Hacker boss. All basic exercises. Playboy Generation 2. Laugh to death, a country bumpkin who has never seen the world before. Master Jianbao. This is clearly the little master I have never met before. President of the Imperial Ancient Medicine Association. Gong Kai. Those who snatch their master will die. Top dark web. Big boss, change your website to disaster. Even the most mysterious organization bowed their heads and paid homage to the young girl everyone who mocks girls. One by one, vests that shocked the world fell off, and experts from all walks of life came knocking on them. Shura fields emerged one after another, seeking care and protection. Later on, Jiang Yao transformed into a stunning and beautiful girl. The scumbag's fiancée cried bitterly for forgiveness. My elder brother is deeply trapped in the crematorium. The second generation of playboys fought fiercely for her. The proud sons of heaven love her, go crazy for her, and are willing to become the sharp weapon in her hand for her to drive. The girl's tea-brown pupils closed low, lazy, gentle, yet cold and thin. It's not interesting. They are destined to love her. Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Good pain, Jiang Yao frowned. Her calm gaze slid lightly over her flesh and blood-blurred arm, and for a moment, she slowly blinked her tea-brown pupils. Didn't she die in a car accident? What's going on now? The next second, there was a sudden buzzing sound in the brain. Ding! The green tea counterattack system has been launched, detected a 100% compatibility with the system's mental body, forcing binding. It's very noisy. Jiang Yao closed his eyes and quietly digested the remaining memories in his body. She is the true daughter of the wealthy Jiang family. She was accidentally lost at the age of 3 and was brought back to Beijing from the countryside a few days ago. Ironically, as a true daughter, she was stuffed into this Bohemia aristocratic high school under the name of adopted daughter, and suffered from humiliation and ridicule. The fake daughter of Zhejiang Magpie Nest, on the other hand, enjoys the envy and praise of everyone under the halo of the Miss Jiang family. Jiang Yao blinked slowly. Yao Yao, although Mo Chen is my fiancé, but if Yao Yao really likes Mo Chen, I can give him to you. Jiang Ruzhu bit her lip, her slender body swaying like a floating duckweed in the wind, as if enduring immense injustice. Damn it! Do you want to be shameless, this dead country bumpkin? An adopted daughter is an adopted daughter, this fool can't even compare to a strand of hair like a pearl. Ah, Ruzhu is just too kind. Jiang Yaoman casually glanced at the corner of Jiang Ruzhu's proud lips, remembered this body's engagement with the Shen family, and meaningfully curled his lips. Are you sure sMansion is your fiancé? The girl lazily squinted her round cat pupils, her tea-brown eyes delicate and innocent, exuding an amber-like coldness. Jiang Ruzhu's face turned white, and her deliberately created gentle smile froze fiercely. She stared at Jiang Yao incredulously. You. How could this fool say such a thing? Isn't she foolish? Jiang Yao lifted his eyes lightly, with a provocative smile at the corner of his mouth. The person who is engaged to the Shen family is clearly me, sister. As for sMansion, a piece of trash, just right for you. Jiang Ruzhu's face was ugly. She tightly gripped her palm, her pale face weak and pitiful. Yao Yao, how could you say that? If you like EP1-10, I can give it to you. You don't have to humiliate me like this. Jiang Yao sneered, let. Who on earth let who? Besides, can a fool really understand what liking is? Jiang Yao, don't think that playing these tricks can catch my attention. In my heart, my fiancé AE is only Ruzhu, and as for you, you can never compare to a single strand of Ruzhu's hair. Standing beside Jiang Ruzhu, sMansion mercilessly sneered. EP1-10, don't say that. Jiang Ruzhu regained her gentle and generous smile. It's okay for Yao Yao to like you, and I won't be jealous. sMansion doted and said, you're just too kind. Jiang Ruzhu returned with a gentle smile. Do they have to involve her when they show affection? In that case, no one likes a trash. Jiang Yao's face had no trace of a smile on her face, but her tone had an innocent and eerie softness. Or is it that my sister, who has occupied my position for 14 years, still not satisfied? Do you need to take my fiancé A to demonstrate your sense of superiority with nowhere to place? This statement was like a sudden burst of thunder, and the quiet crowd suddenly burst into a strong gasping sound. What? Isn't Jiang Yao, a rural bumpkin, an adopted daughter? So Jiang Ruzhu is the fake daughter who occupies the magpie's nest. So sMansion was originally Jiang Yao's fiancé AE. So Jiang Ruzhu. Isn't this the mistress? Believe what fools say. I'm so hungry. Jiang Yao, who stirred a pool of water, pursed his lips irritably. She clenched her palms, trying to contain the sudden feeling of emptiness and hunger rising from her stomach. Even if Jiang Yao confessed to exposing Jiang Ruzhu's fake daughter's identity in the local area, no one would believe it. No one will believe a fool's words. But it's not urgent. Jiang Yao's goal is not to do so. Just let Jiang Ruzhu taste the taste of public opinion first. She will take care of anyone who has bullied this body one by one. Not urgent. Jiang Yao's innocent and pure light-colored pupils were half closed, yet inexplicably chilling. Jiang Ruzhu's face stiffened, and her heart became uneasy. The fool in front of her, who was at her mercy, suddenly seemed like a different person. No way. She can never let Jiang Yao leave her control. Jiang Yao, this slut, should always live under the shadow of her Jiang Ruzhu. EP1-10, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Yao Yao wouldn't have been so angry either. Yao Yao, she likes you so much. If only I could disappear. Jiang Ruzhu bit her lips pitifully. sMansion snorted coldly and sneered, even without you, I wouldn't have liked a useless fool like her. It's so annoying, the girl murmured softly and tenderly. No one could hear what she said clearly. But I heard a clear, piercing slap, pop. sMansion was shocked and pressed his palm seal, furious. Jiang Yao. Pop. Another sound. Jiang Yao blinked his tea-brown eyes and a harmless smile curved around his lips. You call again. Her tone is gentle and gentle. The blood droplets on the girl's arm slid over the back of her hand one by one, like red plums falling to the ground. There is a strange, cruel and stunning beauty. Everyone was stunned and couldn't make a sound. sMansion's face was livid, but he dared not say a word again, because Jiang Yao's smoking was really his mother painful. But how could sMansion admit to being cowardly? So he could only stubbornly hold on to his swollen face and remain silent. The girl drooped her eyelids listlessly, her tea-brown eyes half closed. Get lost, ugly thing. Jiang Yao's patience was exhausted in a strong sense of hunger. sMansion and Jiang Ruzhu's faces twisted in unison. On the second floor of the corridor, the black-haired boy lazily leaned against the railing, his slender fingers like chopsticks casually tapping his chin and saying, did you see that? What did you see? The other boy replied perfunctorily. The neat white shirt was wrinkled by the wind. The wrist bones are warm and beautiful. At this moment, it is slightly tense. A great show. The black-haired boy lazily stood up and raised his eyebrows. The one that the Jiang family just found is quite interesting. Unable to receive a response, he casually lowered his thin white eyelids and said, stubborn. The intense hunger in the stomach was like burning flames. Leaving everyone's line of sight, Jiang Yao's knees softened and he almost couldn't stand firm. She leaned against the wall and said, There is a sentence about MMP that I don't know how to say properly. Chapter 2. Hunger Attack Shame. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiang Yao suppressed the bone-wrenching hunger and stumbled open the door at his feet. This is a lounge. The air was filled with a faint amber fragrance. Jiang Yao tried to contain the emptiness that came from her stomach. She clenched her fists and turned pale. Aren't you rolling out yet? Host. The system's voice trembled. Ignoring a series of strange phenomena such as resurrection from death, Jiang Yao asked directly, what's wrong with me? This is called hunger in the human world. The reason. The system detected a faint killing intent from Jiang Yao's gentle tone. It said incoherently, the system has detected that the host's current health has dropped below 50, and if it falls below the qualified line, various weak illnesses will occur. The host needs to actively complete tasks to increase health and optimize body data. Jiang Yao asked, is 50 a qualified line? The system is trying to be cute. Yes, the host. Jiang Yao didn't even lift her eyelids. She didn't want to endure this hunger-breaking disease for a moment. Where's the task? It hasn't been triggered yet. As soon as the words were spoken, a cold system sound immediately popped up. Ding. Unlock 1-star task. Become a desk mate for the school bully Qi Yan. Task reward. Health +1. Special reminder. The host's current health value is 49. When it is below 50, symptoms including but not limited to dizziness, hunger, bone pain, thirst, etc. will occur. The host will be in a state of long-term health consumption. When the health value returns to 0, the host's life will terminate. To maintain physical and mental health, please actively complete system tasks. As long as she completes this task, she will return to normal. Jiang Yao lowered his eyes, his thick eyelashes covering the dark emotions in his eyes. There was a mirror in the lounge, and she saw a strange, dull face that was completely different from hers. The largest purple autumn school uniform, with the word Bauhinia shining brightly on the school emblem on the chest. She looks even more ordinary than she imagined. Or rather not good. Looking. Jiang Yao went from being a little beautiful to being a big one, and without any guidance, he ordered all the attributes of green tea. He skillfully navigated among men, making him a top-notch green tea. Although he was obsessed with beauty, Jiang Yao didn't care about his plain face now. Recalling the experience of this body in the Jiang family, she curled her lips and blinked her innocent light-colored eyes lightly. The tenderness in the fundus of the eye instantly dissipated like mist. It seems like it's just an illusion. Opening the door, Jiang Yao lifted his eyes and accidentally bumped into a pair of dark, smiling eyes. The young man's eyebrows and eyes were tired, with a hazy and ambiguous peach blossom color at the end of his eyes. His naturally smiling eyes suppressed a chilling malice. The young man in front of me had a skin bag that was too superior and outstanding. Even Jiang Yao was amazed. Qi Yan lazily lifted his thin white eyelids and said, what about being a thief? Jiang Yao. What? Qi Yan furrowed her brows impatiently, and the curve of her lips fell slightly. His skin was cold and white, and the blue marks on his cheekbones were even more ferocious, making him appear very gloomy and difficult to provoke. "This is my lounge." The tone is loose and the ending is long, giving off an inexplicable impression of tenderness and affection. "Tisk, it's dirty," the young man said with a smile on his face underneath Jiang Yao's gaze. Jiang Yao pursed her lips, unaware that this lounge belonged to Qi Yan. "He looks difficult to handle." After 2 seconds of contemplation, Jiang Yao's light-colored pupils quickly opened up a thin layer of mist. She drooped her eyelashes, eager to cover up. The girl's curled eyelashes cast a faint shadow on her lower eyelids, leaving a pitiful impression. Having witnessed how a young girl was full of aggression in front of Jiang Ruzhu and sMansion, Qi Yan immediately understood that she was showing weakness. He bent his lips with interest and malice. "Why are you crying? Make it look like he bullied her." Jiang Yao whispered, "I'm sorry, I didn't know this was your lounge." Qi Yan wrapped his hands around his chest, and he looked at her from a high position. The afternoon sunlight projected 4 corners of light and shadow on the ground through the window, and the young man looked at her thoughtfully. He has a plump figure and a plain appearance, with nothing special except for a pair of clear and innocent shallow pupils. Qi Yan raised the corners of her mouth and gave a fair evaluation of the straight man. "Don't cry, you look really ugly when you cry." Her tears were fake, so they were quite glaring. "He thinks so." Jiang Yao was not angry about what Qi Yan said. Slowly rolling away the tears from the corners of his eyes, Jiang Yao looked at the tall figure of the young man and lightly raised his eyebrows. The pale lips of the girl gently moved. "Qi Yan. It's very strange. Staying with him is very comfortable. Even the feeling of hunger is not so obvious. If it were a little closer, it would be more comfortable." The system spoke out in a timely manner. Qi Yan belongs to a person with strong Qi luck, and gaining the favor of Qi luck is also one of the ways to increase health. So. Jiang Yao squinted his eyes. The tea-brown pupils resemble the cool vertical pupils of some feline species when staring at prey, flickering with a flickering glimmer of danger and grandeur. The system subconsciously feels that such a host is too dangerous. It trembled and said, "Host." Jiang Yao walked around the long corridor to the teaching building and looked up at the 3 words, Mingda building, shining with golden light. He casually, Why did the host cry in front of Qi Yan just now? 007 is a studious master. Jiang Yao innocently curled his lips, his voice rising, cruel and sweet. "Well, you know, I'm green tea." She remembered that Jiang Ruzhu was a white lotus that bloomed unstained from the mud. Jiang Yao smiled inexplicably. Retrieving his gaze, Jiang Yao glanced at the plaque of Zijing High School Class 1 and walked into the classroom with his foot raised. The originally noisy classroom seemed to have been pressed with the pause button. The air has a momentary stagnation. The next second, a chair slammed against Jiang Yao's feet. "Sorry, my hands are slippery," said a boy with green hair in the back row, yawning. "Brother Yang, you're not slipping your hands, are you lacking them?" Someone laughed and said. Jiang Yao stared down at the chair on the ground for 2 seconds, with a strange and dangerous emotion surging in his eyes. Finally, he slowly returned to silence. She blinked innocently. And then, pinched the back of the chair and smashed it hard at that green-haired man. Bang! Ah! In an instant, the green-haired man was kicked off the hook. The green-haired man covered his head and let out a painful howl. Blood trickled down his entire face, dripping down his scalp, looking both terrifying and terrifying. The crowd, who had just been clamoring and cheering, suddenly froze and gasped for breath, feeling a strange pain in their scalp. Jiang Yao curved his lips harmless and said, "Sorry, my hands are slippery." Everyone stared at her in amazement, noticing a slight difference from this ugly and chubby girl, a certain innocent, elegant, and dazzling temperament that shouldn't have appeared on her. Her eyes are too clean and naive. Naive to the extreme, there is a chilling sense of cruelty. In the quiet atmosphere like a chicken, the boy's mocking laughter was particularly evident. No one dares to speak. Jiang Yao raised his dull eyebrows and eyes, his gaze accurately falling on Qi Yan. The young man sat in the corner of the last row, holding his head with one hand, his slightly raised wrist shining beautifully in the sunlight. The bruises on his cheekbones were much heavier, adding a touch of wildness. Jiang Yao paused for a moment. Forget that Qi Yan is also here. Jiang Yao walked up to Qi Yan with a calm voice, I want to sit next to you. She still remembers to do the task. Shit. Who does she think she is? Who doesn't know that Qi Xiao hates people getting close to him the most? This country bumpkin is about to finish it. Ha ha ha, Qi Xiao will definitely humiliate this chubby guy severely. It's really disgusting. It's not possible to seduce Shen Xiao, and then it's up to Qi Xiao. She wouldn't die without a man, would she? His ears were filled with malicious sarcasm and ridicule, and Jiang Yao didn't even blink an eye, calm and calm. Qi Yan curled his lips with a smile, not a smile. Peach blossom eyes drooped wearily. Just when everyone thought Qi Yan was going to make a fuss, unexpectedly, the young man just glanced lightly at Jiang Yao and let out a smile of interest in his throat. Are you secretly in love with me? Chapter 3 Qi Yan. You're very dragging. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That Yang Zheng even threw a chair at her, and she didn't even cry. He just said a few words to her, and she cried. Although there is an element of acting, it is also difficult to explain why she punched sMansion and Yang Zheng hard and was weak and deceitful towards him. Qi Yan heard that girls have thin skin in front of boys they secretly love. If you don't like him, why do you still want to sit next to him? In that case, the explanation makes sense. Qi Yan's gaze towards Jiang Yao became increasingly meaningful. It's not surprising that he thinks so. The girls at Zijing High School who love Qi Yan are like crucian carp crossing the river. Despite Qi Yan's notorious reputation, he couldn't resist his handsome and youthful face. Jiang Yao couldn't help but carefully examine Qi Yan's face again. Cold white skin, peach blossom eyes, black hair and red lips, with a high and straight nose bridge. It's too delicate. Can I sit next to you if I have a crush on you? Jiang Yao pondered and pondered, then I have a crush on you. Qi Yan choked. Suddenly, my teeth couldn't bite hard, giving me a feeling of powerlessness as I punched cotton. Jiang Yao took out Qi Yan's coat and comic book from his stomach and threw them all at his desk. I'll give them back to you. Qi Yan. The onlooker said. Qi Yan was not satisfied with Jiang Yao's indifferent attitude. He gritted his teeth and said with hatred, You're very dragging. Jiang Yao. Are you sick? The onlookers who were expecting Qi Yan to go berserk were all bewildered. Is that all? Is that it? What about the agreed school bully who is violent and has a bad temper? What about the agreed blood splattering on the spot? What about the agreed harsh humiliation? Jiang Yao neatly stacked his original textbooks in the stomach of the table, ignoring Qi Yan's smiling eyes. Detected that the host has completed a 1-star mission. Ding! The task reward has been received. Health +1. The next second, Jiang Yao felt his cold body surrounded by warmth, and even his pale lips blushed in ignorance. The feeling of powerless hunger suddenly disappeared. Jiang Yao hooked his lips. The hunger disappeared, and Jiang Yao's mood improved a lot. Along with it, I noticed that these bad second-generation students in the class were all pleasing to the eye. Qi Yan slept on the table all afternoon. Jiang Yao silently pondered that according to the age of this body, she should have started reading in the first year of high school. However, in order to highlight Jiang Ruzhu, the Jiang family knew that this body was slow and clumsy, so they arranged for her to be in the second year of high school. Still in the worst class. Jiang Ruzhu, on the other hand, is in the elite class where many talented individuals gather. Most students from noble high schools are picked up and dropped off by dedicated drivers, including Jiang Ruzhu. But this body doesn't. Jiang Yao didn't care. Standing on the roadside, a taxi soon stopped at her feet. The car window lowered by a crack, and the driver's uncle spoke in an authentic northeastern dialect, "Sister, are you getting on the car?" Jiang Yao got into the car, reported Jiang's address, and closed his eyes to take a nap. She remembered that when she was in the orphanage, the children in the orphanage were all precocious and liked to form groups and isolate others. Jiang Yao is the one who is isolated. She is beautiful and has a sweet mouth. The dean's mother likes her the most, and the jealousy of children is a terrible thing. Jiang Yao experienced it thoroughly from a very young age. Later on, as he grew up, Jiang Yao became even more beautiful and dazzling. There are too many men who like her, and Jiang Yao often feels annoyed by men who are arrogant and humble. But she needs to use the love of men to achieve her goals. The love of men is really useful. Jiang Yao never thought she was a good person. Beauty is an invincible weapon for her. Jiang Yao lifted her eyelids, revealing a gentle charm with even colder indifference hidden in her eyes. She asked, "Health points, can you exchange anything for it?" The system was taken aback and said, "Theoretically." Jiang Yao nodded and said, "Great. What's wrong with this foolish body?" The system paused for a long time this time and then said in a strange tone, "Because this is the essence of the host, she is the host is her, but for some unknown reason, the host's soul is detached. That is to say, before the host arrives, this is just a soulless body. The death of the host is also a result of the world's conscious rejection." Jiang Yao squinted his eyes and murmured in a low voice, "Can the world consciousness freely control a person's life and death?" The system should have said, "Of course. Even it is constrained by world consciousness." When we arrived at the Jiang family villa area, the driver shouted loudly, "Sister, a total of 30.6 yuan and 80.6 cents. I'll give you a zero, let's count you 30.6 yuan and 80.6 cents. Jiang Yao smiled and said, "You don't need to erase anything for me. Anyway, it's not her who pays." The driver stood in front of the villa and glared at Jiang Yao, "Sister, do you want to take the king's car?" Jiang Yao blinked innocently and said, "I don't have the money to pay." Driver. Your family is so grand, how come you don't have money? Jiang Yao smiled. The driver rushed into the villa in a hurry and shouted loudly, "Give me 30.6 yuan and 80.6 cents. Hurry up." Jiang Ruzhu's face turned pale. Where did the beggar come from? Get out of here quickly. Sister, don't you even want to pay for my taxi fare? Jiang Yao said in a pitiful and helpless tone, "Then I can only wait for my dad to come back." Jiang Ruzhu's face suddenly changed, "Are you threatening me?" Jiang Yao blinked innocently. Jiang Ruzhu felt exhausted and reluctantly took out a 100 yuan bill from her wallet, throwing it at the driver. "Get out of here now." The driver crouched down on the ground, counting the coins one by one. "How about that? I promise to give you some money, a total of 30.6 yuan and 8 cents. If you give me 100, I'll have to give you 60.3 yuan and 2 cents. As soon as the driver left, Jiang Ruzhu immediately threw away the dirty, old, and unpleasant banknotes in disgust, and the steel coins smashed to the ground, making a crisp collision sound. "Jiang Yao, you better not play any tricks on me," Jiang Ruzhu said contemptuously and disdainfully. Jiang Yao tilted his head and asked in confusion, "This is my home, what tricks can I play? Or is it that sister is also afraid that I will take everything from you?" Jiang Yao showed a gentle and harmless smile, "But sister, that should have been mine." Whether the loss of the original body was accidental or human remains to be debated. However, Jiang Yao can be certain that there is something fishy involved in this. Not long after his original body was lost, Jiang's father took Jiang Ruzhu back to the Jiang family. The external rhetoric was meant to appease Jiang's mother's emotions, but soon after, Jiang's mother died of depression. At that time, Jiang's father kept it a secret, and there were not many people who knew about this kind of wealthy secret, let alone a decade ago. So Jiang Ruzhu naturally became the true daughter of the Jiang family, protected by the precious land of Ruzhu, while her original body was tormented and almost died. In thought, the sound of a motorcycle engine came from outside the door. Ah! Jiang Ruzhu suddenly exclaimed in surprise, then twisted her ankle and fell to the ground. Jiang Yao blinked innocently and said, "Are you playing such a cliché game?" Chapter 4. Blind Brother Unlocking 2-Star Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Like a pearl. This is a clear and youthful voice. Jiang Yao's heart suddenly tightened, and as the pain on her heart spread silently, she saw a tall young man in a black assault suit nervously supporting Jiang Ruzhu. "Did you hurt anything?" The young man has handsome and delicate eyebrows and eyes, which are 7 points similar to the appearance of Jiang Yao in his past life. Just Jiang Yao is more gentle and beautiful, while the young man is more heroic. The familiarity that arose from the bottom of his heart even made Jiang Yao feel slightly dazed. Connected by blood vessels. Even though she had never seen him before, Jiang Yao felt that she should have called him brother, as she should have. "Brother," she said. Jiang Yu furrowed her brows, and her narrow, cold and reserved Danfeng eyes glanced faintly at Jiang Yao. Her dark pupils flickered with a cold light, like a pearl, "You pushed it." With a determined tone that didn't even count towards questioning, she was convicted like this. Jiang Yu examined the young girl in front of him without leaving a trace. With a haughty arrogance in his eyes. It seems that the one in front of him is not his biological sister who is connected by blood, but an enemy that makes him feel disgusted. A few days ago, the butler showed him Jiang Yao's photo. So Jiang Yu immediately recognized this plain-looking girl as his long-lost younger sister. Jiang Yu has fantasized countless times about what his biological sister looks like. When Jiang Yao was lost, Jiang Yu was only 5 years old. He could only vaguely remember that it was a very cute little girl who would call him brother, with a milky voice and smile sweetly at him. It was not until Jiang Ruzhu's appearance that Jiang Yu's regret was compensated. He made up twice as much for what he should have done to Jiang Yao, so much so that everyone envied Jiang Ruzhu. Everyone in the upper class knows that what Jiang Yu loves the most is her younger sister, Jiang Ruzhu. No one knows, what Jiang Yu misses is the little girl with 2 braids tied in her hair, spitting saliva and bubbles, calling him brother. When I saw Jiang Yao's photo, it was false to say that I was not disappointed. His younger sister should be as beautiful and lovely as Ruzhu, not as fat and mediocre as Jiang Yao, let alone tacky and eye-catching. Jiang Yu was fortunate that outsiders thought Jiang Yao was the kind-hearted adopted daughter of the Jiang family. Otherwise, he would have been ridiculed and laughed to death by his fox friends. Jiang Yu even felt that Jiang Yao shouldn't have come back. As soon as she returned, Ruzhu felt so sad that she couldn't eat for several days. Ruzhu was already in poor health. "Brother, don't blame Yao Yao anymore. It's me." Jiang Ruzhu bit her lips weakly and said with a hint of tears, "I accidentally fell myself, it's not about Yao Yao." Jiang Yu's eyebrows furrowed even tighter as he indulged and said helplessly, "You're just too kind." Jiang Ruzhu's eyes flashed with a smug expression. "Are you my brother?" Jiang Yao asked. Jiang Yu was taken aback and said, "What? Brother? My legs hurt so much." Jiang Ruzhu's eyes flickered as she gently tugged at Jiang Yu's sleeve and said coquettishly. Jiang Yu's originally moved expression turned cold, and her eyes were full of warning and caution. "My sister is only Ruzhu, so it's best for you to be honest and not have any crooked ideas about Ruzhu, otherwise the Jiang family won't be able to accommodate you." "I didn't push it." The girl gently wiped away the tears from her face, her eyes turning crimson. Her voice was very light, "Brother, I didn't push it. Don't you believe me? The girl looks pitiful and innocent. Even Jiang Yu couldn't help but waver a bit in her heart, but Ruzhu is also innocent, let alone because Jiang Yao has suffered so much injustice. Jiang Yu lowered his eyes, his fingerbones slightly turned white, and he did not do anything wrong. The girl forced out a smile and said sensible, it's okay if my brother doesn't believe me. Sister Ruzhu's injury is important, so hurry up and go to the hospital. Okay. It was unclear what emotion it was, but Jiang Yu was not happy, as if a dull rolling blade was slowly thrusting through his flesh and blood. Ignoring the complex gaze of Jiang Yu behind him, Jiang Yao relied on his physical memory and stepped down the stairs back to the room. It's better to say it's a room than a miscellaneous room that was temporarily cleaned up. Narrowing, gloomy, crowded. Jiang Yao raised his eyebrows. Naturally, she wouldn't live in such a room, but how could she not use the handle to deliver the door? Jiang Yu was lost in thought when she saw Jiang Yao stepping down the stairs. The girl's eyes were slightly red and she cautiously said, "Brother. Can I change rooms?" Jiang Yu sneered, indeed a restless person. He said, "Jiang Yao, recognize your position. Your room was carefully arranged by Aunt Jiang and Ruzhu. If you don't want to stay, then don't be too stubborn." Aunt Jiang, Zhang Rongqing, Jiang Zhigua's second marriage partner. This body. And Jiang Yu's stepmother. The girl's face turned pale as she lightly pursed her lips and said, "Okay, brother, I know." Jiang Yu felt inexplicably uncomfortable in her heart, but her tone remained indifferent. Ruzhu specially opened her favorite cloakroom for you to make a room. What else are you dissatisfied with? Is it your favorite dressing room? Jiang Yao blinked lightly, so does she need to be grateful to Jiang Ruzhu? But all of this should have been hers. She paused and said quietly, "Okay. There's nothing unsatisfactory, brother." Jiang Yu's furrowed brow slightly loosened imperceptibly. Ruzhu is innocent, she knows nothing, she has been spoiled. As long as you don't target her, the Jiang family will ensure that you have no worries about food and clothing for a lifetime. It's all nonsense. Jiang Yaoxiang. Seeing Jiang Yu's softened attitude, Jiang Ruzhu immediately grabbed his sleeve tightly and murmured, "Brother, my leg hurts so much. Can you accompany me to the hospital?" "Okay." Jiang Yu helped Jiang Ruzhu turn around and leave. The gate made a loud roar. Jiang Yao lazily lowered his eyelids and pulled his lips, "A bunch of idiots." A system full of comforting words prepared. The next day, Bauhinia Noble High School. Jiang Ruzhu stepped on her leather shoes and got off the Porsche with a spring breeze on her face. He changed his weak and pitiful posture in front of Jiang Yu and boasted to Jiang Yao, "Yesterday, my brother was worried about my leg injury and stayed up all night. Even if you were his biological sister, what would happen? In my brother's heart, I am the most important thing, and you, Jiang Yao, are nothing." "Oh, really?" Jiang Yao lazily lifted his eyelids, his dull eyebrows and eyes exuding a stunning beauty, like the rarest gemstone in the world, shimmering with a captivating radiance. The originally ordinary facial features have become somewhat lively and beautiful. Jiang Ruzhu felt a strong sense of crisis in her heart. She bit her lip and said, "You'd better take the initiative to leave Beijing. This is not the place you should stay. You rural bumpkin should raise pigs and land in the countryside for a lifetime. What's wrong with raising pigs? What's wrong with farming? Why is it embarrassing to get rich through labor?" Jiang Yao spoke lightly, "Labor is the most glorious, haven't you heard of it?" Ding. Unlocking the 2-star task. Labor is the glorious, please ask the host to earn 5 million yuan through labor within a month. Task reward. Health plus 5. Special reminder. When the host's health reaches 70, it will trigger the opening of the system mall. Please actively complete the task. Jiang Yao. What is my current health? The system tone is weak. 48. Jiang Yao. Jiang Yao smiled and said, garbage system. A garbage life. Why, it's not my business, the system exclaimed. Feeling aggrieved, Jiang Yao turned around and bumped into Qi Yan's lively peach blossom eyes. You're right, little desk mate. Qi Xiao's limbs are not diligent, and he doesn't divide the grain. Jiang Yao walked forward, clutching his backpack strap in both hands. Qi Yan folded his hands behind his head and stepped back towards Jiang Yao. His eyelids drooped wearily as he said, isn't this a scene to hold you? Seeing Jiang Yao's mind wandering, Qi Yan was dissatisfied and said, what are you thinking? Jiang Yao. 5 million. Qi Yan. What kind of thing? Jiang Yao stretched out these hands and carefully examined them for a moment. How can you earn 5 million in a month with these hands? Chapter 5. Jiang Yu vs Qi Yan Shura Field. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Qi Yan found it difficult to understand, 5 million, a lot. Isn't it just about having hands? The extravagant young master Qi has little concept of money. Under the sunshine, the girl's face was pale, as if she had been out of sight for years. Even the pale blue veins under her pale skin could be faintly seen in the sunlight. Her lips were pink. Qi Yan was mesmerized by it, and for some reason, he felt like Jiang Yao was a little more beautiful than yesterday. Although the complexion looks a bit worse. There is a feeling of lethargy, as if the essence has been drained. Turning to his senses, Qi Yan shyly grabbed his hoodie and hood, covering his head with all his thoughts. He was actually fascinated by Jiang Yao's reading. Jiang Yao watched helplessly as Qi Yan suddenly went crazy. She blinked slowly and said, what are you doing? Qi Yan's ears under his hood were so red that they were dripping with blood. He said irritably, I need you to take care of it. Jiang Yao, who was left behind, looked at the young man's back and slowly raised his eyebrows. His half-closed eyelids slid down with a clear smile. Qi Yan. It's very interesting. You can play. Jiang Yao Xiang. Just entered the campus. Unfortunately, last month's monthly exam results came out, and the first, second, and third high school departments were posted on the bulletin board in order from left to right, with red background and black text. Jiang Yao is the last one. Haha, this country bumpkin is really a fool. As soon as she comes in, she'll be the last to be replaced. It is worth mentioning that Qi Yan is the second to last. Before Jiang Yao arrived at the Bauhinia, he had always held the position of the last to last and was a stable member of the group. Qi Yan's eyelids were half drooping, and he sarcastically said to Jiang Yao, sure, it's even worse than me. Jiang Yao was too lazy to argue. Goddess Ruzhu truly deserves to be the true daughter of the Jiang family. Unlike Jiang Yao, who is an adopted daughter, she is so hilarious. Yeah, the goddess is not only beautiful, but also has good grades. Even if she is placed in the neighboring number 1 middle school, she can still rank high. Jiang Yao glanced meaningfully at Jiang Ruzhu. She remembers that Jiang Ruzhu's grades seem to have been copied. The first day when she first came to Bauhinia, it was the monthly exam, and she happened to see Jiang Ruzhu with several little sisters blocking the silent good students in the toilet, forcing the good students to spread their answers to her in the exam room. Isn't it about creating a perfect goddess character? She is willing to help Jiang Ruzhu. Coincidentally, this Friday is the weekly exam for Bauhinia. Jiang Yao took out the elderly machine he had bought for over 100 yuan and casually pressed it with his fingertips before throwing it aside and returning to the classroom. After school in the afternoon, Jiang Yao walked by the roadside. A black Pagani slowly stopped at her feet. The car window lowered, revealing Jiang Yu's delicate and flamboyant profile. Seeing Jiang Yao walking alone on the road, Jiang Yu frowned and said, did the driver not come to pick you up? Or did you make Ruzhu unhappy again? I don't have a driver. Jiang Ruzhu has never waited for me, Jiang Yao said. Jiang Yu subconsciously denied, it's impossible, Jiang Yao. Don't always blame Ruzhu, because Ruzhu has already suffered too much injustice. Since you have chosen to believe her, why are you still asking me? Jiang Yao lowered his dull eyebrows and eyes, appearing uninterested and even lazy to act. Caught in the cold attitude of the young girl, Jiang Yu pursed her lips. Just as she was about to erupt, she suddenly saw the slightly red tip of the girl's nose and the tender and pitiful tea-brown pupils. Have you ever cried? Jiang Yao looked up in confusion. In Jiang Yu's eyes, the girl looked up pitifully, like a kitten begging for its owner's protection, innocence, purity, innocence. Although she has an ordinary appearance, she has a pair of extremely captivating eyes. Jiang Yu couldn't suppress his thoughts. He lowered his eyelids uneasily and rubbed his fingertips lightly until they turned bright red. You get on the car first, he said, Jiang Yao. From behind came the lazy and indifferent tone of the young man, with a hint of teasing horse. Jiang Yu followed Jiang Yao's gaze. The boy's well-defined slender knuckles pressed against his sharp jawline, his slightly long hair swept over his overly beautiful and superior eyebrows and eyes, and his peach blossom eyes contained a hint of carelessness. Qi Yan. How could he know Jiang Yao? Jiang Yu glanced at him and his gaze returned to Jiang Yao, his tone intensifying, come here. Get in the car. Qi Yan's tone was lazy, don't you want anything? Two teenagers, one bold and the other cold. In silence, the smell of gunpowder spread. Jiang Yao, What are you, arguing with me? Qi Yan lazily lifted his eyelids, his crimson lips curved with mockery. Qi Yan's dragging nature dares to speak to Jiang Yu like this. Although the Jiang family is in a small position, no one dares to disrespect him just because he is the grandson of the top wealthy Gu family. However, due to the death of Jiang's mother, the relationship between Gu and Jiang deteriorated sharply, and there was no further communication between the two sides. But with no further contact, Jiang Yu still had half of the Gu family's blood flowing through his body. Jiang Yao, you can choose for yourself, Jiang Yu said coldly. Jiang Yao smiled brightly and quickly got into Qi Yan's car. Qi Yan's expression remained unchanged, but a hint of satisfaction slowly appeared in his eyes. She has a crush on him, right? She chose him correctly. Jiang Yao has a keen eye and is correct. The noble and furry young Master Qi gave a fair evaluation. Seeing Jiang Yao get into Qi Yan's car, Jiang Yu's calm voice mixed with a hint of urgency, Jiang Yao, are you not going home? The girl lowered her eyes and responded perfunctorily, come back, brother. She can never give away what originally belonged to her for nothing. Especially, disliked people. Jiang Ruzhu is, and so is Jiang Yu today. Seeing her still willing to call him brother, Jiang Yu breathed an imperceptible sigh of relief. At that moment, he almost thought that Jiang Yao would never want him again. He always felt that there was something important that he could never catch anymore. Qi Yan's car had heating turned on, and suddenly it warmed up. Jiang Yao's pale face turned much redder. Ordinary facial features emit a faint soft light under ambient lighting. Even the tiny hairs can be clearly seen. Qi Yan finally confirmed that Jiang Yao had indeed become more beautiful. He didn't realize that he was paying too much attention to Jiang Yao. Here it is. Mr. Qi casually handed her the latest computer and smartphone placed in the back row, questioning her. Can you use them? When Jiang Yao asked for a laptop, Qi Yan agreed to it with a sense of humor in mind. Of course, this is just a temporary borrowing. After all, Jiang Yao said she would repay him 10 times the price of the computer. Compared to this small amount of money, Qi Yan prefers to see Jiang Yao embarrass himself. Young Master Qi, who was in a very good mood, generously gave Jiang Yao the latest smartphone on the market. Jiang Yao smiled shyly and said, I know a little. However, Qi Yan saw the girl open her computer, her fingertips so fast that remnants appeared on the keyboard that he couldn't even see clearly how Jiang Yao operated it. The intricate rows of code on the computer screen were rapidly changing and covering, and the girl's tea-brown pupils were shining with a strange and indifferent radiance. Tomorrow, Friday. Qi Yan heard the girl say in an almost sweet and innocent tone, Zhou Kao. Qi Yan's gaze shifted from the screen to Jiang Yao's profile. In a moment of confusion, Jiang Yao slammed the computer shut and smiled, "Thank you for taking me home." It wasn't until Jiang Yao got off the car that Qi Yan realized that not only did he not see Jiang Yao's joke, but he was also led by her nose. He has never seen such a strange person as Jiang Yao. Qi Yan was not aware of it, he is curious. Attracted by Jiang Yao. Curiosity is the beginning of a sinking heart. The Jiang family villa is brightly lit. Jiang Yu is not at home. Because he had a grudge against Zhang Rongqing, his stepmother, he moved out of the Jiang family very early and rarely returned to this villa. I only came back a few times to stay with Jiang Ruzhu. Jiang Yao walked straight to the guest bedroom, locked the computer in his backpack into the cabinet, and took out his old-age computer. He lazily pressed the old-fashioned keyboard, making a crackling sound. There is a gap in the door. Jiang Ruzhu originally intended to warn Jiang Yao not to say anything inappropriate in front of Jiang Yu. As a result, she caught Jiang Yao sneaking around. Jiang Ruzhu pushed open the door and sneered, "What are you doing?" Jiang Yao, on the other hand, panicked and hid the elderly machine behind him, shaking his head hesitantly with a pale face. "No. I didn't do anything." Jiang Yao's guilty expression instantly confirmed Jiang Ruzhu's speculation. She smiled proudly and grabbed the elderly phone hidden behind Jiang Yao. She tapped on the screen a few times, and Jiang Ruzhu pouted in disgust. How could a bumpkin still use this kind of phone? However, the next second when she saw the chat interface clearly on the small box screen, Jiang Ruzhu excitedly widened her eyes. Chapter 6. Qi Yan's Grievance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The screen emitted a eerie blue cold light. In the chat box is a draft that Jiang Yao has not yet sent out. Do you really have the answer for this weekly exam? Jiang Ruzhu was first excited, then disdainfully sneered, "Only a fool like you would be fooled." Weekly exam answer. Who wouldn't know that Zijing High School secretly produces test papers, even if it's just a small weekly exam, the level of strictness is no less than confidential. Not to mention the answers to the weekly exam, even the teachers who distribute the test papers may not know what the content is before the official exam starts. Not to mention the answer to the weekly exam. Jiang Yao's eyes flashed with a faint light, and his face immediately turned red. I don't want to take the last place exam anymore, my dad is not satisfied with me. If I take the last place exam again, my dad may drive me back to the countryside. The timid voice of the young girl carried a hint of seduction in the confined room. Little by little, it stirred up the dark side of Jiang Ruzhu's heart. If I could get first place in the exam. Jiang Yao's mouth curved with a hint of pity. Dad would be very happy, wouldn't he? Compared to Jiang Yao, Jiang Ruzhu is more afraid of losing her father's favor. So Jiang Ruzhu will definitely be more urgent and spare no effort to prove her intelligence and excellence. No matter how hard it can be proven, it's just a piece of grass. Jiang Ruzhu secretly memorized the contact number with the code name Y, and pretended to disdain and threw the elderly phone to the ground, causing the fragile phone screen to shatter. It's truly a country bumpkin from the countryside, it's really disgusting. The curvature of Jiang Yao's mouth remains unchanged. Upon hearing the sound of the door closing behind him, Jiang Yao casually took out his phone from his pocket and clicked twice. Soon after, he received a friend request from Jiang Ruzhu. Jiang Yao raised his eyebrows and took a shower before slowly approving Jiang Ruzhu's friend application. But as soon as the other party couldn't wait, as soon as they approved the friend application, a message popped up across from them. Do you have the answer to the weekly exam for your sophomore year? Jiang Yao lightly tapped the keyboard with his fingertips, and his dull eyebrows and eyes reflected a cold light of joy. Why, yes. Jiang Ruzhu. I want one. The quiet room suddenly echoed with a mocking smile from the young girl. Jiang Yao typed. 100,000 copies. Jiang's father has always been generous with Jiang Ruzhu and Jiang Yu, often giving pocket money in the tens of thousands. Although 100,000 yuan is painful for Jiang Ruzhu, it is not to the point of reluctance. After a few minutes, Jiang Ruzhu gritted her teeth and agreed, 100,000 is 100,000, but how can you guarantee that this is the correct answer for this weekly exam? Jiang Yao. I can't guarantee it's the correct answer, because I made the test paper myself, but it's more than enough to get a high score. Those papers are too simple, and Jiang Yao can get the correct answer with just a glance. This is to lower Jiang Ruzhu's guard. Jiang Yao waited quietly for a moment. Fingertips lightly and rhythmically tapped the corner of the table a few times. Make a dull thud. Jiang Ruzhu quickly sent another message. Can others also buy it? She wants to get the first place in the weekly high school entrance exam, so naturally she can't let others get this answer. Jiang Yao slowly typed, and clicked to send. Jiang Yao. If you're worried that others might get this answer, buy it out for 500,000 yuan. She is gradually lowering Jiang Ruzhu's bottom line. 500,000 yuan is just right for Jiang Ruzhu. Although this money is enough to make Jiang Ruzhu suffer, she cannot afford it. Jiang Ruzhu. 500,000, why don't you go grab it? Jiang Yao turned off his phone and no longer replied to Jiang Ruzhu. The system was stunned. Because Jiang Yao's hacking skills are too impressive, aren't you a green tea host? Jiang Yao responded casually. She casually raised her lips, her dull eyebrows and eyes appearing lively and fragrant. If you learn a little bit, you happen to know a little bit, she said a little bit. The system always feels something strange. As the weekly exam approached, the good student who had been copying answers for Jiang Ruzhu suddenly had a stomachache and was unable to take the exam. Upon hearing this news, Jiang Yao unintentionally lowered his eyelids. Qi Yan lazily propped up his sharp and distinct jaw, his slender knuckles resting on his face, his thin lips lightly hooked. Jiang Yao. Jiang Yao gave him a warm glance. The young man's tone was slightly relaxed, with a casual teasing tone. Is sMansion your fiancé? In Jiang Yao's puzzled gaze, Qi Yan approached her slightly and twisted his fingertips uncomfortably. Don't think too much, I just don't deal with him very well. Oh. Jiang Yao lowered his head and focused on pressing his phone, taking some time to perfunctorily say to Qi Yan, this engagement is real. Qi Yan's face suddenly turned cold. Along with the sound, it's all chilled with ice, he said. Jiang Yao inexplicably said, are you sick? Qi Yan felt even more aggrieved. Aren't you secretly in love with me? With such a troublesome fiancé on your head, how could you still secretly love me? It's not a conflict. Jiang Yao saw an additional transfer of 500,000 yuan in his bank account and hooked his lips in a good mood. The answers written in 3 or 2 were organized into a document and directly packaged and sent to Jiang Ruzhu. She operates with integrity. Jiang Yao turned her head and met Qi Yan's resentful gaze. She blinked slowly and said earnestly, I don't want a fiancé like this either. You need to learn to accept it. Qi Yan looked shocked. And then. Out of breath. I can't say what I'm angry about. Anyway, the whole person got angry. Jiang Yao, make it clear that you are secretly in love with me. Do you want me to accept? Accept what? Accepting that she has a fiancé, accept him putting on the green hat. Or accept him as this invisible mistress. Qi Yan has been a jerk for 17 years and has never suffered such great injustice. It is obvious that Qi Yan is very angry. Until the end of the Zhou exam, Qi Yan was still in a low pressure. Jiang Yao raised his eyebrows and ignored him. On the day the weekly exam results were released, Ruzhu appeared particularly excited because she was second in her youth. This math test is so difficult, how could the goddess of pearls get a perfect score? Laughed to death, that country bumpkin got last in the exam again, damn it. I laughed so hard that my head was about to fall off. If it weren't for the presence of a big shot Peiyu, Ruzhu would be the first in grade, right? They're all from the Jiang family, why is there such a big difference between people? There's a difference between a biological and a rural person. The girl stood in the corridor, listening attentively to the ridicule of the crowd. Jiang Yao sadly lowered her eyes, but Ruzhu still didn't dare to copy all of them. If Ruzhu could copy the answer in its original form, she might not be the first in grade. Yao, why are you standing here? Ruzhu hugged sMansion with a spring breeze on her face, and when she saw Jiang Yao, she pretended to be surprised and covered her lips with a delicate smile. sMansion gave Jiang Yao a disgusted glare. Whenever he thinks that this ugly and foolish bumpkin is his fiancée, he's almost going to spit out his overnight dinner. You better not pester me, I can never fall in love with you. sMansion shook his head and said arrogantly, even if you beg me, I won't give you a second glance. Jiang Yao is curious why some men are always so confident. They are clearly so mediocre and useless. Ruzhu also stared at her with a guarded expression. Afraid that Jiang Yao might steal sMansion. In fact, her interest in a dog is much greater than that of sMansion. Moreover, Jiang Yao has little interest in dogs. Chapter 7. Ruzhu has no way out. You are listening at novel full.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 8. Jiang Yao becomes beautiful. You are listening at novel full.audio. Before the monthly exam, Ruzhu finally pieced together 5 million yuan to get into Jiang Yao's card. Detected that the host has completed the 2-star mission. Ding! The task reward has been received. The system task completion prompt sound will sound. Jiang Yao didn't have much emotion, just his eyebrows and eyes were about to relax. The system was stunned. I can't figure out how the host made so much money in such a short period of time. Especially, all of this money comes from Ruzhu. As his health broke through the qualification line, Jiang Yao saw his face in the mirror visibly rosy. The nose seems to have become slightly raised, and the eyes have also become larger. Although it is only a slight difference, it also appears particularly obvious on this overly plain face. It's hard to say where the change occurred, but it makes people intuitively feel that the girl has become much more beautiful. Jiang Yao opened his phone, and his friend list was empty, with only Qi Yan. Not long after she transferred the money from the computer to Qi Yan's card, Qi Yan slowly sent a ... Jiang Yao. Give it back to you. Qi Yan. Do I lack this little money? Jiang Yao could imagine how Qi Yan would be slapped with 2, 5, or 8,000 yuan while typing. Don't bother to talk to him. Jiang Yao was about to shut down the screen when he saw a voice message popping up from the chat box. She clicked on it and heard the noisy background sound of Qi Yan. After a few seconds, it quieted down a bit. The young man's casual voice suppressed a faint and muffled smile, accurately coming from the receiver. Jiang Yao, happy birthday. Jiang Yao was taken aback for a moment. She looked at the screen of her phone. Accidentally tapping on the cheap smile expression on the phone, I let go of my fingertips and sent it. Jiang Yao. Fuck. The next second, Qi Yan's voice call popped up. Jiang Yao, what do you mean? Is I really funny? Connected, the young man's tone of questioning gradually became clear amidst the slightly noisy sound of electricity. Jiang Yao blinked slowly and said, No, I clicked wrong. She said again, it's very noisy over there. The young man quieted down, and a few seconds later, the noise behind him disappeared completely. Jiang Yao heard Qi Yan say, now. It's okay. How do you know my birthday today? Jiang Yao asked calmly. I just know, the young man said vaguely, his tone becoming increasingly fierce. Alright, I have something else to tell you. The phone was hung up. Jiang Yao slowly raised his eyebrows. She lowered her eyes for a long time, and a mysterious smile curved around her lips. The Jiang family should be very lively at this time, right? As the protagonist of this birthday party, Jiang Ruzhu appeared in line with expectations and attracted widespread attention. She looked around for a week, but didn't see the little slut. Her eyebrows furrowed and she inexplicably felt uneasy. What about that wild bastard? Zhang Rongqing naturally knew that Jiang Ruzhu was talking about Jiang Yao, with a contemptuous tone and a sneer, who cares about her? I haven't seen anyone in the morning, just like her mother who died early, it's so unsettling. The next second, he immediately laughed and said, the Shen family has also arrived. Mr. Shen is very satisfied with you. After the monthly exam results come out, you should behave well and your engagement with Mo Chen is very likely to be yours. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Ruzhu finally felt relieved. Under my heart, I still feel anxious, always feeling like something bad is going to happen. Many people have already arrived in the front hall of the Jiang family. Jiang Yu naturally won't be absent from her sister's birthday, which has been painful since childhood. He gently gave the carefully prepared gift to Jiang Ruzhu, gift, happy birthday to the little princess. Jiang Yu was already handsome. With such a spoiled smile, many little girls blushed and immediately cast envious glances at Jiang Ruzhu. It's great to have such a handsome brother who spoils his sister. Jiang Ruzhu secretly felt proud and said, thank you, brother. Yugo started preparing this gift more than a month in advance. TSK, the girl control is really scary, said a yellow-haired person. Someone next to me immediately answered. If I had a sister like Zhu, I would treat her as my beloved pet. These usually arrogant young men are not sincere towards Jiang Ruzhu, and their words are mainly for the sake of Jiang Yu's face. Yeah. Not like that Jiang Yao. Suddenly, someone mentioned Jiang Yao with a tone full of contempt. The air suddenly became eerily quiet. It's so easy to hear a needle drop. What do you mean? Jiang Yu said expressionlessly. The person didn't notice anything unusual in Jiang Yu's tone at all and sneered, having such a rural girl is just embarrassing, are you brother? Upon hearing that Jiang Yao had been belittled, Jiang Ruzhu felt very happy in her heart. The smile at the corner of the mouth widened uncontrollably. But when she saw Jiang Yu's ironclad face, Jiang Ruzhu's face turned white and her heart became even more uneasy. Brother. Jiang Yu looked up with extreme indifference. Tell me again, his mother. Yuan Yu didn't know what was wrong with him, but he felt anger rising in his chest and smiled angrily. Whose face did Jiang Yao lose? No one noticed when Jiang Yu started. When everyone regained their senses, Jiang Yu had already pressed the person to the ground and pounded him, his face cold and fierce, with dark emotions surging in his eyes, making his feet shiver uncontrollably. Your mouth is so smelly, you his mother ate shit. Jiang Yao is what you bastard can say. Let me hear you say something about her again, I will kill you. The young man always had a 2.3 smile on his face, and when he was most angry, he just kept his face cold and didn't say a word. He rarely showed such emotions. At the very least, no one has ever seen Jiang Yu's violent side. Everyone thought that Jiang Ruzhu was his weakness, but they didn't know that Jiang Yu valued the adopted daughter in the countryside so much, so they dared to shamelessly belittle Jiang Yao. Jiang Ruzhu didn't show it on her face, but her heart was shrouded in immense panic and unease. She vaguely felt something completely out of her control. Jiang Yu. Amidst countless noisy voices, the cold and plain voice of the young girl clearly reached Jiang Yu's ears. Jiang Yu's rationality gradually returned, he pursed his lips and looked at the girl standing at the door. Following Jiang Yu's gaze, everyone also looked up together. Under the dazzling incandescent light, even though her health has been increased, the girl's face still presents an unhealthy and pale complexion. She lazily raised her eyebrows and eyes. What's going on? Jiang Yao's tone was casual, as if it was just a casual question. She had no idea that this farce was centered around her. Because in Jiang Yao's understanding, Jiang Yu could not have fought with others for a few verbal offenses. Only Jiang Yu knew that she was not the adopted daughter from the countryside. Among the population, she was the younger sister of his mother's compatriots. They have the closest blood ties in the world. Jiang Yu was slightly dazed. I don't know if it's an illusion, but he always feels that Jiang Yao has become much more beautiful. My figure has also become slightly slender. The corner of the girl's mouth curved lightly, her tea-brown pupils shimmered with a charming and dazzling light, and her pink lips pursed irritably. Jiang Yao has fair skin and is wearing a green long skirt adorned with small flowers, giving off an inexplicably round and cute feeling. She blinked slowly. Jiang Yu suddenly became nervous, not even knowing how to move his hands and feet to make him more comfortable. But the girl didn't even look at him. Not even at a glance. Jiang Yu subconsciously ignored the strange sense of loss in her heart. Jiang Yao. The girl let out a puzzled She didn't want to get involved in this farce, but when she thought of an upcoming one led by her, the girl curved her lips in a good mood. By the way, the monthly exam results are out. Remember to check them. As the words fell, everyone's phones popped up an unread new message. Everyone has no time to go and watch this farce again. Click on the transcript, then discuss or mock. Jiang Yao lowered her eyes uninteresting and would be surprised, she thought. Chapter 9. Jiang Yao First Third Uncle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The first place in this grade must be Ruzhu again, right? Yes, Ruzhu is so powerful, the first place is definitely Ruzhu. Seeing everyone's attention refocused on her, Jiang Ruzhu felt slightly better. No, it's not that exaggerated. Although Jiang Ruzhu said so, her eyes were full of pride and show-off. But the response to her was not the imagined boasting of everyone, but a deathly silence. On the transcript, the number after the name, Jiang Ruzhu, is a big 632. Ranked 632nd in grade. There are only 700 students in the entire second year of high school. The atmosphere has become quiet. Jiang Ruzhu was bewildered and shouted, "How could I not be the first?" She had already copied the answer exactly on the exam paper. Silence. Silence is Cambridge tonight. Jiang Jigua's face turned pale, and he almost slammed the door and left. Hey, look at the first place. What's its name? Jiang Yao. Damn it, I'm not dizzy, right? The crowd quickly erupted into even greater screams of surprise. Is that the Jiang Yao I was thinking of? Nonsense, can you still find the second Jiang Yao in the entire Bauhinia tree? Upon hearing everyone's gasping sounds, the system felt a sense of relief. Ha ha ha. Stupid. The first place is my 007 host. Angry to death, you little brats. Unexpectedly, Jiang Ruzhu suddenly stomped her feet and covered her lips, crying. Seeing this, others also showed embarrassment. This Jiang Yu is also very conflicted. As his older brother, he felt very proud of Jiang Yao while worrying about Jiang Ruzhu's mood. In the end, he simply grinned and didn't smile. There is also his father Jiang Jigua who is in the same state as Jiang Yu. In this delicate atmosphere, the butler Uncle Wang ran in panting heavily, unable to catch his breath for a moment. He hurriedly said, "Gu. Someone from the Gu family has arrived." As he finished speaking, a handsome man walked elegantly and coldly in his leather shoes, scanning the crowd. His pitch-black pupils slowly settled on Jiang Yao's body. Jiang Yao squinted his eyes and looked at the person without leaving a trace. The man is dressed in a valuable custom-made suit, with a tall and slender figure, a straight back like a pine tree, and a noble and imposing temperament. Even if one cannot see his appearance clearly, it is subconsciously perceived as a man with extremely superior appearance. The dazzling lights hit the man's towering nostrils, and his narrow and indifferent phoenix eyes exuded a faint radiance. His features were handsome, and his appearance was even more superior than Jiang Yao had imagined. To Jiang Yao's surprise, the man's eyebrows and eyes were somewhat similar to her in her previous life. It was clearly an unfamiliar face, but Jiang Yao felt warm and familiar. I had this feeling when I first saw Jiang Yu. Although later her filter for her brother was shattered by Jiang Yu. Mr. Gu really loves his younger sister. Among his busy schedule, he still needs to take some time to see Madame and Miss Ruzhu. Look, who outside doesn't envy Madame for having such a good brother like Mr. Gu? The butler, Uncle Wang, complimented. Just as Jiang Ruzhu replaced Jiang Yao's identity, Zhang Rongqing also publicly claimed that she was from the Gu family. In fact, she is just the daughter of a servant in the Gu family. After becoming best friends with Gu Qingyun, he climbed onto Jiang Zhigua's bed. As soon as Gu Yunchen arrived at the Jiang family, the news spread throughout the entire city. The bosses who wanted to connect with the Gu family immediately ran towards the Jiang family without stopping. The already declining Jiang family was really the first time it was so lively. Who is Gu Yunchen? This is the golden hand of the site. By relying solely on his own efforts to establish Yaoguang Holdings, although it has only been a few years, the development momentum is terrifying. Moreover, behind Gu Yunchen is the Gu Group, but Gu Yunchen is not relying on his family at all. Nowadays, Yaoguang even has a faint dominance. Don't be too awesome. Yeah, Mrs. Jiang is really lucky. Speaking of which, our family and the Jiang family still have some familial ties. Mr. Gu will definitely stay and have a good drink later. The CEOs who were originally reluctant to attend this birthday banquet suddenly had their eyes lit up, thinking that it was worth it. Gu Yunchen's expression was cold, his pitch-black eyes still fixed on Jiang Yao, and his slightly pursed thin lips revealed a hint of his restless heart. For Jiang Yao, this is a completely unfamiliar man. Apart from the initial familiarity, Jiang Yao has no memory of this man. Jiang Ruzhu bit her lips shyly, her watery eyes shy and timid, and her face filled with a sweet and pleasing smile. Uncle San, she said. The crowd let out a gasp of cold air. Ruzhu, so Mr. Gu is really your third uncle. Jiang Ruzhu's little sisters was full of envy and jealousy if Jiang Ruzhu is really related to the Gu family. Although these wealthy second-generation people usually play in the same circle, there is also a class division. The better the family background, the higher the status. For example, the young master of the Qi family, Qi Yan. To put it bluntly, these wealthy second-generation people who drag the sky and the earth dare not say a word in front of Qi Yan. It's not an exaggeration to say that they are playing with the crown prince. The Gu family is even more powerful than the Qi family. If Jiang Ruzhu is really related to the Gu family, then she is definitely the little princess. Faced with the envy of everyone, Jiang Ruzhu proudly raised her chin. She glanced contemptuously at Jiang Yao. What if this country bumpkin is the bloodline of the Gu family? Ugly and foolish, she can't even compare to one toe of Jiang Ruzhu. As long as Gu Jia is not blind, she should know who to choose. This fool is also lucky enough to occupy the identity of the Gu family's bloodline. Jiang Ruzhu hates it so much that her teeth itch at the thought of it. Why is Jiang Yao such a slut? Uncle San, why haven't the other uncles come over? Ruzhu misses her uncles. Jiang Ruzhu wrinkled her nose and said coquettishly. Gu Yunchen took a step back without a trace, avoiding Jiang Ruzhu's hand. He frowned slightly and said, I have a cleanliness fetish. Jiang Ruzhu's face stiffened, and the next second she playfully stuck out her tongue. Alright, Ruzhu knows that Uncle San loves to joke. Gu Yunchen didn't understand what she was doing to entertain herself. He glanced coldly at Zhang Rongqing, his cold and indifferent gaze gliding over Jiang Ruzhu. His cold voice carried an undisguised mockery, my sister's name is Gu Qingyun, and my niece's name is Jiang Yao. May I ask, who are you? Chapter 10. Three Uncles Protecting the Short. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wow. Everyone gasped in unison. There were too many melons we ate today. So Jiang Yao is the true daughter of the Jiang family. In thought, everyone's gaze towards Jiang Ruzhu also became strange. This Jiang Ruzhu dove has occupied the magpie's nest for 13 years, which should have belonged to Jiang Yao's favor. It seems that it is not innocent. Sensing everyone's scrutiny, Jiang Ruzhu's smile instantly stiffened. His face turned blue and purple with anger. He's amazing. How easy it is to reveal Jiang Yao's identity so easily. What should she do about this? Jiang Ruzhu couldn't help but complain, why didn't her third uncle consider her at all? Clearly in everyone's hearts, she is the true daughter. How does Jiang Yao match a wild girl from the countryside? Even Lady Jiang couldn't keep laughing anymore, her gentle and graceful face full of twisted jealousy. The atmosphere suddenly froze strangely. The crowd, who were originally still praising, suddenly showed embarrassment. Jiang Ruzhu bit her lips tightly, her body trembling weakly. Uncle San. Gu Yunchen didn't give her a single glance. He walked slowly to Jiang Yao, with a slight curve on his lips. Yao Yao, I am the third uncle. Jiang Yao blinked slowly and said, are you talking about me? Jiang Jigua's original wife, Gu Qingyun, came from the Gu family and was ranked fourth. She had 3 older brothers and 2 younger brothers, and Gu Yunchen was ranked third. In terms of seniority, Jiang Yao was going to call him the third uncle. But they say I'm a wild seed that nobody wants. Jiang Yao's tone was light and ethereal, but Gu Yunchen's heart was twisted like a knife, so sour that even his breath was engraved with pain. Who said that? Gu Yunchen spoke coldly. Jiang Yao glanced at Zhang Rongqing's mother and daughter with a smile on his face. These two people were shouting happily from behind, but now they are acting like a shrunken turtle without saying a word. Gu Yunchen looked at Jiang Yao for a long time. Finally, he let out a deep breath and said, no one wants it. Yao Yao is not a wild species that nobody wants. The man's hoarse voice was no longer cold, with a carefully soothing emotion, and his tone was clumsy as if coaxing a child. Jiang Yao lowered his eyelids. Her eyes were damp and hot, and she opened her mouth in confusion. Third uncle. It's very strange. Jiang Yao has been struggling in an orphanage since childhood and is naturally emotionally indifferent. When facing Gu Yunchen, Jiang Yao's countless grievances seemed to finally have an outlet to vent, and tears couldn't help but fall one by one. Be obedient and quiet. Gu Yunchen curved his lips, his cold and fair face instantly blossoming like peach blossoms, so stunned that it made people lose their minds. Don't cry. Gu Yunchen's emotions have always been introverted and cold, but when he heard the girl's third uncle, his heart became sore and even the cold gaze was covered with a gentle color. Yao Yao, Uncle San will take you home. Gu Yunchen bent down and his sharp phoenix eyes curved in a warm curve. Where is Yao Yao's room? Uncle San helped Yao Yao pack up his things. Although the Gu family had already prepared everything that Jiang Yao might need in advance, even if Gu Yunchen took Jiang Yao away directly, it wouldn't be a big deal. But Gu Yunchen still fully considered Jiang Yao's ideas. Jiang Yao gently shook his head. That miscellaneous room didn't originally have anything for her. Jiang Yao was not in a hurry to go back with Gu Yunchen, but Mrs. Jiang became anxious first. Yao Yao has just been brought back from the countryside, so there's nothing to tidy up. If Gu Yunchen finds out what kind of place Jiang Yao lives in. No. Never let him know. Otherwise, not only she, but also the entire Jiang family will have to bear the anger from Gu Yunchen. Gu Yunchen frowned. Where is the Yao Yao room? Gu Yunchen pursed his thin lips in a straight line, exuding a hint of coolness, and his voice became even colder. This is to Mrs. Jiang. Uncle San, it's here. Jiang Yao pointed to the narrow room at the end of the corridor, his dull eyebrows and eyes devoid of any unnecessary emotions, so cold that it was heart-wrenching. Gu Yunchen guessed something. His face darkened. Step forward and kick open the door. With a loud bang, the decaying and moldy wooden door shook and fell to the ground with a loud bang. A bed was thrown into the cramped and narrow miscellaneous room, without even a window. The mottled and pale walls were covered in large patches of demonic mold. If there were people with dense phobia, they would probably spit it out on the spot. Madame Jiang's legs softened, her lips trembled, and she began to shed tears with tears. Third brother. No, it's not like this. Pop. She turned her head and mercilessly slapped the butler, scolding him mercilessly, son of a dog. Is that how you treat Yao Yao? If it weren't for third brother, I wouldn't have known that you, such a dog, dared to treat Yao Yao so harshly. The CEOs who came to the Jiang family to hold Gu Yunchen's thighs were caught off guard and watched a big show, feeling a bit confused. But which one present is not a human spirit? They all have a clear idea of what's going on. Gu Yunchen glanced lightly at his thin white eyelids, his pitch-black pupils carrying a sense of condescending pressure. When looking at people, it was as if a sharp knife had cut through their skin, leaving faint bloodstains. Hospitality. His thin lips curled slightly. A mocking laugh overflowed from her throat. Zhang Rongqing, after being Mrs. Jiang for a few years, she really considers herself the mistress of the Jiang family. This Jiang family is meant to be left for Yao Yao. What are you? Also, I only have one younger sister, named Gu Qingyun, who doesn't want to hang out with relatives. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room was in an uproar. This is really stepping on the faces of Zhang Rongqing and Jiang Ruzhu to the ground. The second-generation mockers of Jiang Yao suddenly realized that in their eyes, this chubby and ugly rural bumpkin was not only the true daughter of the Jiang family, but also the most precious young lady of the Gu family in Beijing. Since the Jiang family does not welcome us to stay, it seems that there is no need for us to continue staying. Gu Yunchen's cold gaze swept over the crowd with different expressions, and as he touched Jiang Yao, it softened bit by bit. Yao Yao, Uncle San will take you home, he said. Yao Yao, Uncle San will take you home. He said it twice. No one has ever told Jiang Yao that I will take you home. Jiang Yao has never had a home. But now, she seems to have a home. Jiang Yao let out a low, On the way to the Jiang family, Gu Yunchen had already finished reading Jiang Yao's information. The cold treatment and ridicule Jiang Yao had received at the Jiang family these days had already been organized into information by his secretary, and all of this information had been read word for word by Gu Yunchen. When Gu Yunchen passed by Jiang Yu with Jiang Yao, he didn't give him a single glance. Jiang Yu lowered her eyelashes and spoke in a hoarse and difficult voice. Third uncle. I can't afford it. Gu Yunchen sneered, you've already said that your sister is Jiang Ruzhu, not Yao Yao. Our Gu family doesn't recognize anyone except for Yao Yao. Jiang Yao was taken aback. Is this venting for her? Jiang Yu was also frozen in place, without a response for a long time. Before leaving, Gu Yunchen curled his lips, his sharp gaze seeming to see through Jiang Yu. Today, it's also Yao Yao's birthday, but you have forgotten everything, he said. Jiang Yu's face turned pale. So today is also Jiang Yao's birthday. It was on his third birthday that Yao Yao got lost, and he thought he would never forget it in his lifetime. Jiang Yu suddenly thought of something and his expression changed. He quickly walked to Jiang Yao's room. The cramped room was covered in moldy walls, with nothing more than an old folding bed.